Amy with AJ's Vintage Designs here for the Dixie Belle YouTube channel. And today we're gonna be talking about Slick Stick. Now Slick Stick is Dixie Belle's bonding primer, and it sticks to pretty much any surface. You can use this on glass, formica, plastic, metal, laminate. You can do it pretty much on any glossy surface. It makes a surface a good paintable surface that's gonna hold paint. And you can see how shiny this piece is. And let me see if I can get see? There we go. So you see the light reflecting on it? Look at how glossy this is. You can actually like see my reflection in it. This, and I got all the knobs off. I couldn't get this one. It will not come off. It's like stuck in there. So I gotta work around a broken knob. But this is a commercial piece. And see, you can really see how glossy this is. So it's a laminate. It's not solid wood, but it's a commercial piece. It came out of an office, and so it's got the metal rails and everything. It's a beautiful piece, but it's not gonna be easy to paint. That's why I'm gonna count on Slick Stick. So what I'm gonna be doing, I'm just gonna show you just how easy it is to apply Slick Stick, and in case you had questions on what type of surface you would use Slick Stick on. Now this one, like I said, you can see, look at the shine. This is it's out of a commercial office. It's that high gloss, faux cherry look. So if you're not sure and you think it might need Slick Stick, then lean towards the side of being safe and go ahead and use the Slick Stick. But this definitely needs a Slick Stick, and I'm gonna show you how easy it is to put on. I'm gonna be working with a damp brush. I'm gonna use the Dixie Belle Mini today. Get it a little bit damp. Okay, so now I'm just using a damp brush, and I'm gonna apply a thin coat just like you would any other primer. And I even do this before I'm gonna be doing any mud work. If I have to do any mud work, then I would do this first. And I would take my drawers out, but I want you to be able to see the piece, so I left my drawers in for you guys. But normally you take your drawers out so that you can get your entire casing around where the drawers are at. And you're working with a damp brush and just putting thin, smooth coats on, long strokes. And this is a bonding primer. So it's gonna stick to any surface. So close up so you can see it. Now the shell is you can see a little seashell right there. I am priming over it, and I might be putting mud in it to fill that in, because I really don't like that look of having a seashell on there. But I'm putting this primer down first, so that if I do mud, then I have a good surface for the mud to stick to as well. Because this is not real wood, so it's not something I can just sand down. I'm just gonna do 2 coats of Slick Stick, and then this piece will be ready for me to paint. You can see how glossy this top is. I'm also going to be applying the Slick Stick to the top of this piece as well, because I'll be painting it. And I want to make sure that the paint is going to last with people putting drinks and everything else on it. So I'm just going to apply it to the top of here. Okay, I'm back. I have 1 coat on here, and I just wanted to show you what 1 coat looks like and what a difference just having the 1 coat as far as the glossiness of the surface and its paintability, what a difference it makes. So let me give you a close-up real quick of 1 coat. Okay, so you can still see some of the wood through, so it is 1 thin coat, but you can just hear the difference. It gives the surface some grip, and so this is what is gonna make the paint stick so nicely to the surface, and also going to keep the paint from peeling back or scratching off. It is, I mean, look at it is sturdy. But I'm going to put 2 coats on this. Okay, now that the 2 coats is dried, and we definitely have a paintable surface now. The paint is going to stick so well on this. Okay, we all come across when we're thrifting furniture that has whether flowers or hearts or this seashell type of engraving, and it's fine, but the problem is it's not the look I'm going for. So I'm gonna use some Dixie Belle mud to get rid of this. So let me show you how to do it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and use Dixie Belle mud in white, since I'm working with a white surface to make it easier. Okay, so I'm just gonna take a little spatula. I'm gonna scoop out some of my, stir it up a little bit, scoop out some of my mud onto my spatula, and I'm just going to fill in this design. I'm gonna push the mud into all those cracks because I don't want to have that seashell on here anymore. I've done this with pieces that have the wheat, like the little stalks of wheat, and that is gonna date a piece if you're trying to update a piece of furniture and you love it, but it has the dated hearts or wheat on it that you don't want anymore. You can use this mud to fill in those designs. And I'm gonna let this dry. I'm putting it on nice and thin so it can dry quicker. So I'm just filling in, pressing the mud into the design. Getting it off my spatula. I'm gonna come back after this is dried in a couple hours. I'm gonna sand it with probably a 400 grit sandpaper. And if I get any shrinkage where I can still see a little bit of the seashell, then I'm going to do it again, a thin coat on top of it. And I'm gonna do that until I can no longer see the seashell image on here. And my door will be a nice, clean canvas with no dated details. Okay, let's let this dry and then I'll come back. Okay, so now I'm back. And the mud is dry, and what we need to do is I'm using a 320 grit sandpaper. You're gonna wanna sand it, and you're gonna be feeling it as you go. You wanna make sure there's a smooth transition between your door and the mud. But you wanna make sure you get enough of the mud off, because you don't want at an angle to be able to see any raised areas where it's obvious that the mud is there. And so you're gonna wanna sand it gently. I've already worked on the other two. So you're gonna sand it gently. I like to go in circular motions. I'm gonna zoom in so you can see a little bit better. Okay, I like to work in circular motions. And it's okay that you can start to see the outline. It's smooth. There's some areas that will need just a little bit more putty where there's a little bit of an indent. Yeah, we wanna make sure we're getting the raised areas off so that we don't have any, like I said, from an angle, you don't wanna see any raised areas. So we're just gonna keep in a circular motion. Okay, and there's no raised areas, that's pretty darn smooth. And if you're not sure, like if you think it feels smooth and you think you got it all, and you're not sure that's gonna be noticeable, if I put a little bit more, like when if I put some more slick stick on top of this or any primer on top of it, once you put a primer on top of it, then you're really able to see how well you've disguised your decal or your engraving that you're trying to hide. Once you put paint on it, you're gonna be able to tell. Now I can see right now I have a little bit of an indent right here. There's a little tiny indent right there. So I already know I'm gonna have to put a little bit more mud right there and then right there. Take my mud back out. And I'm gonna put a very thin layer. Because if you put on too much, you're gonna be doing a lot of sanding. So that's why we put it on light, and it's easier to sand off. And then once this dries, it's tough. So all the areas where it kind of has an indent, where I think you're gonna be able to see the design, just adding, I'm kind of putting it all over, but. Okay, now since I put such a thin coat on this is gonna dry really quickly. So I will be able to, within the next hour or so, come back out here, sand it again, and see where we're at. And then once this is dried and I've sanded it again, if it's the way we want it, I'm gonna put a little bit of either slick stick back on top of it as a primer, just so that when we put paint over our entire surface, our paint is going over like areas so that this texture isn't gonna be different than this texture. So I will put another coat of probably slick stick over this area just so that my surface is the same. There's not gonna be a different texture difference between my mud and my surface here, because I want this to be undetectable. I don't want anybody to notice that I've covered up a seashell here. So, okay, this is gonna dry in about an hour and I'll be back. Okay, the second coat of mud has dried, and I'm gonna use a little sanding block this time. You can use any of them, just showing you examples of different kinds of sandpaper that you can use. You can use a 220, 320, a 400, and I'm just using this little soft finishing sponge. If it's a gentle sandpaper, then it's not gonna like distress your slick stick, but it's actually going to give you a nice smooth, very smooth surface. And perfect. Okay, and I'm gonna wipe off all of this dry dust that's all over here so that I have a good surface. I'm gonna start painting, and then you're gonna see that you're not gonna be able to tell that there was ever a little seashell here, and my paint is gonna stick perfectly because I use the slick stick. Okay, so now I'm gonna seal that in the mud so that it's gonna be the same texture as the rest of the cabinet. So just adding some more slick stick on here. Okay. There we go. That's all there's to it. I'm gonna let it dry, and then this is ready to start painting. See, that's where the seashell was. And the paint is going on nice and smooth. The coat of slick stick on top of our mud, it's all dried and ready to be painted. Now I'm just gonna do 1 or 2 coats of Dixie Belle's buttercream, which is a nice creamy white, because I'm not quite sure what I'm doing with this piece yet. Usually at the end of my videos, you'll see a whole finished piece staged in pictures, the whole works. But with this piece, I'm actually using this piece for a couple of tutorials. So there won't be a finished piece at the end of this tutorial, but you will see this piece finished in a future tutorial here on the Dixie Belle YouTube channel. But I'm gonna show you right now, by putting the coat of buttercream on here, I'm using a nice neutral because, like I said, I'm not sure which direction I'm going as far as finishing up this piece. But I want you to be able to see how well paint goes on here. And I also want you to see that you won't be able to see the seashell because we covered it with the mud. So here we go. Now I am using the Dixie Belle Oval Medium. It's one of my favorite brushes, that and the Mini. And I have it slightly dampened. Let me get in all these grooves here. And anytime you're using a white or a cream, you're gonna be using multiple coats. So I will at least be doing 2 coats on this, even though I'm not sure which color is gonna be my final color. I'm gonna be layering some colors, I think, or doing stripes or decoupaging. I have a bunch of decoupaging tissue papers out trying to figure out a color. So here we go. I want you to see how well it covers. Okay, but this is what I want to show you. Let me zoom you in here. I want you to see that you cannot tell that there was a seashell there. See how nice and smooth this is? And you saw when I was painting how easy the paint went on. There was no slipping of the paint, and what I mean by slipping is when you're brushing it on, if I go back over it again, let's say this is still wet, I'm gonna go over it again. If I would do this, usually if it was on a slippery surface, a lot of times it would pull that original coat off back to the wood. It would like almost reactivate the paint and it expose the wood because it's slippery. But in this case, it's not doing that. The more I take the brush over it, it's not pulling the paint back to wood. That paint is secure. And so I don't have to worry about any of the paint wearing back to the wood and exposing any of the wood, or in this case, laminate. Okay, so next time you have a laminate piece of furniture or a piece of furniture that's really glossy and you're really nervous, you're not sure how paint is going to stick to it, I just gave you the secret. Dixie Belle Slick Stick. It's gonna make any glossy surface paintable. And you saw it right here. This was a laminate faux cherry wood buffet that normally if you would try to put paint on it, it's not gonna last. And by using the Slick Stick, my paint is gonna last. It was also easy to paint over, and by using the mud, I was able to update this piece and get rid of that little seashell carving, and it was easy as that. How often do you have the wheat, the hearts, the flowers? If you want to update those pieces, you can fill it in with mud, and it's like it was never there. Okay, well, don't forget to like and subscribe here on the Dixie Belle YouTube channel and click on the little bell so you get notified every time a new video is uploaded. And also follow me at all of my social medias and my blog, which is www.ajsvintagedesigns.com. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook at AJ's Vintage Designs. Okay, well, until next time, I hope you have a great day.